Hare Krishna, everyone. We welcome you all to our virtual Sunday program in our teachings of Lord Chaitanya series. Today we are in the penultimate session right before Gaur Purnima, where we will be completing the essence and summary of this very nice book written by Srila Prabhupada. Today we have His Grace Nityananda Prabhu, who is the temple president of ISKCON Dallas, who will be addressing us. And he will be speaking after Amrita Gaurangi Mataji, who is a part of our congregation, who will be doing some kirtan. So I hand it over to Mataji to continue with kirtan. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Am I audible, Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari 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 Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari 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 Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yashomati Nandana Brajavaro Nagara Gokula Nandana Kana Yashomati Nandana Brajavaro Nagara Gokula Nandana Kana Gopika Dana Dana Madana Manohara Gopika Dana Dana Madana Manohara Kaliya Ramana Vidhana Kaliya Ramana Vidhana Amara Rajagana Palana Surapurana Shana Rajagana Palana Surapurana Shana Nanda Gosana Rakumala Nanda Gosana Rakumala Govinda Madhava Govinda Madhava Navanitasvara Sundarananda Gopala Sundarananda Gopala Yamuna Tatachara Gopi Vasana Yamuna Tatachara Gopi Vasana Rasarasita Prukamo Rasarasita Prukamo Sri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natavara Sri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natavara Bhakti Vinoda Shaya Bhakti Vinoda Shaya Yashomati Nandana Brajavara Gokula Nandana Kana Yashomati Nandana Brajavara Gokula Nandana Kana Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you very much for the wonderful bhajans. It's been a while since we've had bhajans, so thank you very much for that. So, moving on. So, let's get on with our session today. We have His Grace Nityananda Prabhu, who is the temple president of ISKCON Dallas, who will be addressing us today. A short run through of our schedule. Uh, we already had Kirtan, we'll have class now, and Prabhu will also have a question and answer session, after which we'll have announcements. Today is the big one, so we'll have announcements regarding Gaur Purnima, and then we'll end with Narsimha prayers. So, just to give a quick introduction of Nityananda Prabhu before Prabhu starts his session. So, Prabhu was born in the Fiji Islands, and he graduated as an attorney and financial accountant over 40 years ago at the Auckland University in New Zealand. He's also served as an advisor to the Prime Minister and also participated in various leadership positions in civic organizations such as the Fiji Manufacturers Council, the Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Consumer Council, and many others as well. He moved to Dallas in 1993 and also has been serving as a spiritual guide to many others, both within the devotee community and in the professional community at large since 1983. He's been the temple president for over 20 years, and he also serves as the GBC regional supervisor for over 6 states in the United States of America. He also is married with 2 children, and he also has 4 grandchildren. So we welcome him to enlighten us today on this penultimate session, which has very important topics, where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is discussing with Rāmānanda Rāya regarding the relationship of ours with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Over to you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so very much, Prabhuji. Om Gyana Timirandhasya Gyanjana Shalaka Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpa Trubhascha Kripasindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhya Vaishnavebhya Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshtarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasa Adi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna. So thank you so very much, Prabhuji, for your kind introduction. I feel very honored that I am in the midst of all of you, such wonderful devotees, to speak about a topic that's personally very dear to my heart. And by Krishna's arrangement, I didn't know which chapters I'll be covering, but by Krishna's arrangement, this is one of my favorite topics to talk about. And so Krishna made the arrangement that somehow the topics aligned in such a way that I will be able to share my realizations and, more importantly, Lord Chaitanya's feelings about these matters. Jai. So I'll start by first offering my respects to scripture. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki Jai, Shri Rāmānanda Rāya ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Shri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. So starting from chapter 27, which is titled Lord Chaitanya and Rāmānanda Rāya, the author of the Chaitanya Charitamrita has described Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the ocean of transcendental knowledge, and Sri Rāmānanda Rāya is as the cloud which is produced from the ocean. Rāmānanda Rāya was a greatly advanced scholar in devotional service, and by the grace of Lord Chaitanya, he gathered all transcendental conclusions, just as a cloud gathers water from the ocean. As clouds appear from the ocean and then go all over the world to distribute the water, which then returns to the ocean, so by the grace of Lord Chaitanya, Rāmānanda Rāya attained his high knowledge of devotional service, and again, after retiring from service, went to join Lord Chaitanya in Puri. So this is a amazing start to the chapter. Of course, as we know, these are Srila Prabhupada's devotional ecstasies. And so if we read from Srila Prabhupada's writings, understanding that Lord Gauranga is speaking to us directly, that Lord Kṛṣṇa is speaking to us directly, that the acharyas are speaking to us directly, then, and personally, then we can get the most out of these scriptures. So here, right at the outset, we can see that Rāmānanda Rāya is actually an amazing, amazing devotee in Krishna Lila. In the Lila of the Bhagavad Gita, he is actually Arjuna. And in Krishna Lila, in what we call Vrindavan Lila, he is actually Vishakha, the Gopi Vishakha, who is one of the two principal gopis who serve the supremely attractive couple, Radha and Krishna. So an amazing, amazing personality appears in a situation that some people consider to be a Shudra, but had amazing understanding of Krishna consciousness. And this is the conversation that is going to take place between him and Lord Chaitanya, just like the conversation that took place between Arjuna and Lord Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. This is happening in Gaur Lila. Gaur Lila is the most relishable Lila of all. Radharani is the person who is Lila herself. She is actually the origin of all Lila. And the word Lila is very important to understand. The word Li means to embrace, and La means to accept the embrace. So the beloved, the lover embraces the beloved, and the beloved accepts that embrace. So in this situation, we are understanding here that Lord Krishna, Lord Gauranga wants to embrace us, and we have to accept that embrace. And that is what Rāmānanda Rāya did. And as a result of that embrace, he came to know transcendental topics of the highest nature. And obviously, if you know the highest nature, then you know everything less than that. Just like if you are a multi-trillionaire, then you're automatically a billionaire and a millionaire and everything else that is smaller, like that. So understanding Krishna consciousness at the highest level, which we will see here, is actually complete understanding of Krishna consciousness. And without complete understanding of Krishna consciousness, there cannot be complete satisfaction. And as we all know, nobody can be truly happy unless they're completely satisfied. Just like if we are very hungry and then we're given something to eat, but it is not complete, then we will feel unsatisfied. We will not feel satisfied. So in the Bhagavatam, the word suprasiditi is used. Suprasiditi means, su means complete or the highest, and prasiditi means satisfaction. So complete satisfaction, the highest satisfaction, can only be had when one has complete love of Godhead. And that is what is being spoken of here. And so this wonderful example is given of how the devotee is like a cloud. And the cloud is pulling from the ocean because the ocean is evaporating. And that evaporated mass becomes a cloud. Then the cloud goes all over the world and distributes very much needed water, because our bodies are made of 80% water. And it is the highest need of the body outside of air, because that's what we breathe. And then we need something to look after the body and soul. And so food and water are important, of which water is the most important. we cannot survive much without water. We can survive longer without food like that. But food is also necessary, and that we'll talk about as well, because this water brings about food. The rain brings about food, which actually sustains us also like that. Then we can have nice rest, have a nice attitude, and these become the 5 nourishes. The nourishment that we get from breathing, the nourishment we get from drinking, the nourishment we get from eating, the nourishment we get from good rest, and the nourishment we get from very nice attitudes, the best attitudes like that. So then what happens is, finally, when the rain falls, then the water goes into rivers and outlets like that, and they go right back into the river, into the ocean, and they merge back into the ocean. They go right back into the ocean. They once again rejoin the ocean. So this is our purpose. Our purpose as devotees is to understand this science properly and then spread this science all over the world, and that is called Sankirtan. So this is the Sankirtan party. So Sankirtan is the most important thing in creation. Actually, we should pray that we will always be absorbed in Sankirtan, because if we are 24/7 absorbed in Sankirtan, then we are fulfilling the purpose of Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu's mission. We are fulfilling the purpose of Rupa Goswami's mission and becoming Rupanugas. And we are fulfilling the mission of Srila Prabhupada and becoming Prabhupadanugas, like that. So then what happens is, as a result of that, we rejoin Radha and Krishna in their wonderful pastimes, and Gaura Nitai in their wonderful pastimes, and the associates, of course, Krishna Balaram, like that. There's so many wonderful personalities, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra Devi. And then we have Yogamaya, we have Tulsi Maharani, we have Advaitachari, Vidadhar Pandit, Shivas Thakur, like that. So many wonderful personalities on these 2 Leelas, the Leela of Sambhoga, where we are in union with Krishna, and the Leela of Vipalambha, where we are separated. And Radharani says that the Leela of separation brings more happiness, more bliss. So we can talk about that at some time. But the point is that Rāmānanda Rāya is this wonderful personality who is going to help us understand Krishna consciousness, because he's acting in our role. He's playing the role of the devotee here. He is actually Nitya Siddha. He is not just devotee. He is eternally a very, very dear beloved of Radha and Krishna, of Lord Balaram, and of course all their associates in Leela of union, and Leela in separation. He is also very intimate disciple and follower of Gauranga Mahaprabhu and all of the other wonderful personalities. So then what happens is that these 2 personalities, they actually meet, and as a result of their meeting, because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had asked Lord Chaitanya to visit this great devotee Rāmānanda Rāya at Kabul. So then when they met, Rāmānanda Rāya presents his credentials to Lord Chaitanya, embracing him, and both of them were overwhelmed with ecstasy, it is described. So here's the Leela. You can see that Lord Gauranga embraces Rāmānanda Rāya, and as a result, both of them are in ecstasy. So this is the way to please Krishna, to accept his embrace. This is the way to please Gauranga Mahaprabhu, to accept his embrace. And of course, all the wonderful personalities in these Leelas, like Lord Nityananda, Radharani, Lord Balaram. A lot of these are the same personality, but in 2 different Leelas like that. And they're amazingly very, very close to one another. So then it is described that Lord Chaitanya and Rāmānanda Rāya sat down together, and Lord Chaitanya says, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya has spoken very highly of you. So I have come to see you. So Rāmānanda Rāya replies, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya considers me one of his devotees. Therefore, he has kindly recommended that you see me. So this way, the 2 of them come to meet one another. So then, Lord, before Rāmānanda Rāya could even ask the Lord a question about the advancement of spiritual knowledge, this is the devotee. The devotee is always seeking to learn more about Krishna consciousness. The devotee never thinks, oh, I know Krishna consciousness so nicely now, I can talk to others. No, he understands that he has very little understanding, or he or she understands that he has very little understanding of Krishna consciousness, and is always eager to learn more, always like a sponge, more and more, absorbing more and more, being completely absorbed like this all the time. This absorption is most important. First, of course, it is surrender. We have to be status ready. If we're not surrendered, then we're not ready to accept. And then it is absorption. And then the yearning comes. So if you can remember the acronym SAY, being surrendered, absorbed, and yearning, then we will become happy. Just like Prabhupada say, chant and become happy. This is like say and become happy. Like that. We'll always be very happy. So Sri Rāmānanda, so then what happens here is, the Lord replies, just quote some verses from scripture about the ultimate goal of human life. So what is the purpose of human life? What is the ultimate goal? Sri Rāmānanda at once replied, a person who is sincere in performing his occupational duty will gradually develop a sense of God consciousness. In this connection, he quoted a verse from the Vishnu Purana 389, which states that one worships the Supreme Lord by following the principles of one's occupational duty, and there is no alternative for satisfying him. The purport is that human life is meant for understanding one's relationship with Krishna and acting in that relationship. Any human being can do this by dovetailing himself in the service of Sri Krishna while discharging his prescribed duties. For this purpose, human society is divided into four classes: the Brahmins, who are the intellectuals, the Kshatriyas, who are the administrators, the Vaishyas, who are the merchants and farmers, and then the Shudras, who are the laborers. So like this. So he starts as that being what scripture actually prescribes. So at the same time, for spiritual advancement, they should follow the four stages of the ashrama, namely student life, which is brahmacharya, householder life, which is grihastha life, retired life, which is vanaprastha, and renounced life, sannyasa. So this becomes the varnashrama system like that. Rāmānanda Roy stated that those who strictly follow the rules and regulations of these 8 social divisions can actually satisfy the Supreme Lord, and one who does not follow them certainly spoils his human form of life and glides down towards hell. And as we know, the Earth planet is the last planet in the middle planetary systems, and then after this, the hellish planets start. So actually, it's like this is a bus going down towards hell, and this is the last stop. And we're asking people to get off the bus and not go to hell, and actually turn around and leave the material world and go back home, back to Godhead. So then, after hearing Rāmānanda Rai's saying this, after hearing Rāmānanda Rai expound upon the proper execution of a regulated life, Lord Chaitanya said that such a life is simply external. Indirectly, he asked Rāmānanda Rai to describe something superior to such an external exhibition. So this is the first level that was spoken about. Formal execution of rituals and religion is useless unless aimed at attaining the perfection of devotional service. Lord Vishnu is not satisfied simply by ritualistic adherence to Vedic instructions. He actually is pleased when one attains the stage of devotional service. So this is why this system did not please Gauranga Mahaprabhu as the system that he wanted us to actually achieve in our lives. So he says, move on further. Let's move on further. So according to this verse, according to the verse cited by Rāmānanda Rai, one can rise to the point of devotional service by ritualistic performance. So in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, texts 45 and 46, Sri Krishna, who appears in order to deliver all classes of people, says, a human being can attain the highest perfectional stage by worshipping the Supreme Lord, from whom everything has emanated, through his occupational duties. Close quotes. This perfectional process was followed by great devotees like Bodhyama, Tanka, Drimida, Guhadeva, Kapardi, and Bharuchi. All these great personalities followed this particular path of perfection. The Vedic injunctions also aim in this direction. Rāmānanda Rai wanted to present these facts before the Lord, but apparently mere discharge of ritualistic duties is not perfection. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya said it was external, indicating that if a man has a material conception of life, he cannot attain the highest perfection, even if he follows all the ritualistic regulations. So this is a very, very important point being made, because this is where the majority of the world are in their Krishna consciousness. Of course, the majority of the world are not in Krishna consciousness, but those of them who are in Krishna consciousness, this is where they are. They're more into the ritualistic performance and understanding how to adapt to material life and live their Krishna conscious life based on their own past conditioning like that, and the new things that they've learned in Krishna consciousness. So then, in chapter 28, the relationship with the Supreme is now being stressed. So Lord Chaitanya rejected the statement cited by Rāmānanda from the Vishnu Puran, because the Lord wished to reject a class of philosophers known as the Mīmāṅsakas. The followers of Karma Mīmāṅsa philosophy teach that God is subject to one's work. Their conclusion is that if one works nicely, God is bound to give good results. Thus, from the statement of the Vishnu Purana, cited by Rāmānanda, one might conclude that Vishnu, the Supreme Lord, has no independence, but is bound to award a certain kind of result to the worker. Such a dependent God becomes subject to the worshipper, who accepts the Supreme Lord as both impersonal and personal, as he wishes. Actually, the Karma Mīmāṅsa philosophy stresses the impersonal feature of the Supreme Absolute Truth, because Lord Chaitanya did not like impersonalism, such impersonalism. He rejected it. And he says, tell me if you know something beyond this conception of the Supreme Absolute Truth. So then Rāmānanda presents his second proposition. So Rāmānanda understood the purpose of Lord Chaitanya, and after stating that it's better to give Krishna, and after stating that it is better to give Krishna the results of fruitive activities, he quoted a verse from the Bhagavad Gita, a very famous verse, Yat Karoshi Yat Yashi, like that. O son of Kunti, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you sacrifice, whatever you give away, and whatever austerity you undergo to achieve some goal, everything should be dedicated to my service. Of course, this is Lord Krishna speaking. So there is a similar passage in the Śrīmad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 236, where it states that one should submit everything, all the results of the fruitive activities one performs with body, speech, mind, senses, intelligence, soul, and modes of nature to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya, however, also rejected this second statement, saying, if you know of something higher, state it. So why did he say that? So because offering everything to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as enjoined in the Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad Bhagavatam, is better than impersonally making the Supreme Lord subject to our work. But it is still short of surrendering to the Supreme Lord. You see, you're giving everything, but you're not really surrendered. And you remember the three are surrender, absorption, and yearning. So such fruitive activity will continue one's material existence. A worker is simply instructed here to suffer or to offer the results of his work to the Supreme Lord, but there is no information given to enable him to get out of the material entanglement. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya rejected this proposal. All right, so then comes the third point. So after having suggestions rejected twice, Rāmānanda proposed that one should forsake his occupational activities altogether, and by such detachment rise to the transcendental plane. In other words, he recommended complete renunciation of worldly life. To support this proposal, he cited evidence from Śrīmad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 11, Text 32, where the Lord says, in the scriptures, I have described the ritualistic principles and the way one can become situated in devotional service by giving them up. This is the highest perfection of religion. So Rāmānanda also quoted Lord Krishna, a similar statement in Bhagavad Gita, very famous statement, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam praja. Give up all kinds of religiousness and just surrender unto me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I shall protect you from all sinful reactions, and you'll have nothing to be aggrieved over. So then Lord Chaitanya also rejected this third proposal from Rāmānanda, for he wanted to demonstrate that renunciation in itself is not sufficient. There must be positive engagements. positive engagement. Without positive engagement, the highest perfectional stage cannot be attained. So then, he continues that generally there are two kinds of philosophers in the renounced order of life. The goal of one is nirvana. The goal of the other is impersonal Brahman effulgence. Such philosophers cannot imagine that they can reach beyond nirvana and Brahman effulgence to the Vaikuntha planets and the spiritual sky. Because in simple renunciation, there is no conception of spiritual planets and spiritual activities. Lord Chaitanya rejected this third proposal. So then Rāmānanda decided, but maybe if I cite more evidence, it might work out. So he cites from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 54, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, Nasochiti Nakanchiti verse, which says, when by cultivation of knowledge, a person realizes himself to be non-different from the Supreme Absolute Truth, he becomes joyful. And he's freed from all kinds of lamentation and material desires. At that time, he perfects his Brahman realization by seeing everyone on the same spiritual level. Such Brahman realization can elevate one to the transcendental stage of devotional service. Rāmānanda first suggested devotional service with renunciation of the fruits of one's work, but here he suggests that devotional service with full knowledge and spiritual realization is superior. Lord Chaitanya, however, also rejects this proposal because simply by renouncing material results in Brahman realization, one does not realize the spiritual world and spiritual activities. Although there is no material contamination when one attains the stage of Brahman realization, in that stage one is still not perfectly pure because there is no positive engagement in spiritual activity. Because it is still on the mental plane, it is external. The pure living entity is not liberated unless he is completely engaged in spiritual activity. Now, at this point, I want to bring up a very, very important point, because this way we will understand what Lord Chaitanya is driving at and what Rāmānanda is actually going to himself say, because he already realizes the truth. He already knows the Supreme Absolute Truth. So basically, we as living entities, we have consciousness. The consciousness is the symptom of the soul. It is the energy of the soul. Just like there's a battery-operated toy, there's a battery in it. So imagine the battery is the soul, and then when you turn the switch on, the battery exudes energy. That energy makes the toy move. So in the same way, we have a soul which is seated in the chest region here in the center. That is where our soul is. That's the spirit soul there. I mean, that is the spiritual heart there. That's the spiritual heart there. And in that spiritual heart, there are two souls: the little soul, the little I, that is each and every one of us, and the big I, which is the supreme Lord in the form of Paramatma, like that. Okay, so this energy itself goes through 11 different levels and rises all the way to the top to the Supreme Absolute Truth. So it starts first at the level of the sense objects, like this is a sense object here. So at this level of science, physics, chemistry, and all these come into play. And this is very important. We might think, oh, not very important, but this is very important. And, later on at some other time, when I talk about this more in detail, we'll show you how this is as important as the Supreme Absolute Truth. Because every atom in here has been made for one purpose only, and that is solely Krishna's purpose. While I joined this program, I saw there was somebody who had their initials as SKP. And I really like that, Sankirtan Party SKP. So solely Krishna's pleasure. Everything shall be done solely for Krishna's pleasure. So we can see how this pen can be used solely for Krishna's pleasure. And therefore this whole pen becomes part of the Supreme Absolute Truth. So this is how we connect all levels of consciousness, but this is the level at which it starts. Then it rises higher to the level of the senses that perceive these objects. And so those senses are the sense of touch, the sense of sight, the sense of hearing, the sense of smelling, the sense of taste, and the sense of feeling, like that. And then the consciousness rises to a higher level to the mind, which is the king of the senses. And then That's the third level. Then rise to the fourth level, which is the intelligence. Intelligence is the one that is meant to guide the mind. When it doesn't guide the mind, then our intelligence is upside down. Then our whole system becomes contaminated. And then the intelligence itself is guided by the false ego. False ego is our ego, but it has been contaminated by the material world. It's been contaminated by the mode of passion, like that. And so it becomes contaminated, it becomes false ego. So it's a misidentification. Let's say it's identification, but misidentification. Instead of thinking that I am the soul, I'm thinking I'm the body. Instead of thinking in the night that that's a piece of rope, I'm thinking it's a snake. So misidentification like that. So this is illusory. So that is what's guiding the intelligence right now. And then higher than that is the consciousness. And the consciousness itself is a transfer point. So if it is operating at the lower levels from the false ego downwards, from the fifth level downwards, then it is in material life. But if it's operating from its level and higher, then it is in spiritual consciousness. So higher than the consciousness is the real ego. That is our real identity. Aham Brahmasmi, like that. So that becomes the seventh level. And then the eighth level is Brahman. Then the ninth level is Paramatma, and the 10th level is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original Supreme Absolute Truth, Parabrahman, Param Satya, Sri Krishna. That's the 11th level of consciousness, you see. So here what is being said by Lord Chaitanya is that we must be completely engaged in spiritual activity, which means all these 11 levels have to be engaged. Then we have understood Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, our Krishna consciousness understanding is partial. It is incomplete. And just like there is a saying in English, that incomplete knowledge is dangerous. You see, because it's not complete. So, like if I say, he was such a bad boy, then, what do you make out of that? Boy, it's a bad boy, like that. And then comma, after comma, I said, who became one of the greatest saints in the world. Okay, now you have a very different conception of this person, right? If you had taken that partial part of it, of the information, he's a bad boy, then you would have come to one conclusion. But when you read the whole thing and you saw who became one of the greatest devotees, one of the greatest saints in the world, then you think to yourself, oh, what a great person, man. What a great personality. I'm also a bit of a bad boy. Maybe I can also become a nice saint. It's like that. So we have to have complete information. So this is what Lord Chaitanya is driving towards. And this is a very critical statement that he made right here. So as long as one is absorbed in impersonal thoughts or in thoughts of the void, one's entrance into the eternal blissful life of knowledge is not complete. When spiritual knowledge is not complete, one will be hindered in his attempt to cleanse the mind of all material variegatedness. Because there's a lot of material variegatedness in this world, and a lot of it is also confused with spiritual life. Thus, impersonalists are frustrated in their attempts to make the mind void by artificial meditation. So this is why all this meditation process is useless. The only meditation is lila. When you meditate on lila, then you're going to understand there's something very unusual happening here. And then you'll have to understand the knowledge behind it, or at least at the minimum, serve those who have a knowledge behind it so that you can understand properly what is happening. It is very difficult to avoid the mind of all material conceptions. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, text 5, it is stated that those who indulge in such impersonal meditation find it very difficult to make spiritual advancement. In addition, whatever state they do attain is not complete liberation. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya rejected it. So then, after the fourth proposal was rejected, Rāmānanda said that devotional service rendered without any attempt at mental speculation or cultivation of knowledge is the highest stage of perfection. To support this view, he gave his evidence from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 14, Text 3, wherein Lord Brahma tells the Supreme Personality of Godhead. My dear Lord, one should give up monistic speculation, and the cultivation of knowledge altogether. He should begin his spiritual life in devotional service by receiving information of your activities from a realized devotee of the Lord. if one cultivates his spiritual life by adhering to these principles and keeping himself on the honest path of life, honest path in life, then although your lordship is never conquered, you become conquered by the devotee following such a process. You get some clue here. That's what Krishna wants. He wants to be conquered by our love, like that. So when Rāmānanda Rāya presented this proposal, Lord Chaitanya at once said, yes, this is right. In other words, Lord Chaitanya agreed with this process. It confirms also his mission. In this age, there is no possibility of acquiring spiritual knowledge by discharging one's duties in the Varnashram Dharma system, by devotional service mixed with fruitive activity, by renunciation, or by devotional service mixed with the culture of knowledge. Because most people are fallen, and because there's no time to elevate them by a gradual process, the best course, according to Lord Chaitanya, is to let them remain in whatever condition they are in, but to engage them in hearing of the activities of Krishna as those activities are explained in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Of course, pastimes of Lord Chaitanya are the pastimes of Krishna in separation. The transcendental messages of the scriptures should be heard from the lips of realized souls. In this way, a person may continue to live in whatever condition he is and still make spiritual progress. So thus, one may surely advance and fully realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, although Lord Chaitanya accepted these principles, he still requested Rāmānanda Rāya to go further in his explanation of advanced devotional service. Now it's come to the point. Okay, so now let's talk about advanced levels. Lord Chaitanya gave Rāmānanda Rāya a chance to discuss gradual advancement from principles of Varnashram Dharma, the 4 castes and the 4 orders of spiritual life, through the offering of results of fruitive activity, and through the speculative discussion of spiritual knowledge. Lord Chaitanya rejected all these because in the field of executing pure devotional service, there is very little use for such principles. Without self-realization, such artificial methods of devotional service cannot be accepted as pure devotional service. Self-realized pure devotional service is completely different from all other kinds of transcendental activity. The highest stage of transcendental activity is always free from all material desires, fruitive efforts, and speculative attempts at knowledge. In the highest stage, one concentrates on the simple, favorable execution of pure devotional service. So now, this is love of God. He's describing love of God. So in this area, in love of God is elevated to what is called personal affinity. Now, this is very important. Personal affinity means each and every one is a flavor. Just like you go and have a feast. So there are many items there on that feast, and you will enjoy so many items in that feast. So each of them is a flavor. Each preparation is a flavor. So each of us is a flavor. And as a flavor, we have our affinities based on that, you see. So our affinities are very important. Affinities means what we love to do. Because if you do devotional service based on what you love to do, then you'll do a great job of it and you'll please Lord Chaitanya, please Lord Krishna, because Lord Krishna will not accept devotional service that is not offered joyfully, that is not joyfully performed. Shushukam kartum avyayam, he says. Must be joyfully performed. So this is a very important point. So love of Godhead is elevated to personal affinity. When that's happened, it is called Prima Bhakti. Now it's Prima Bhakti. In the beginning of Prima Bhakti, a particular relationship with the Supreme Lord and the devotee is not established, but when Prima Bhakti develops, a relationship with the Supreme Lord is manifested in different transcendental flavors. The first stage is servitude, dasa, wherein the Supreme Lord is accepted as the master, the devotee as eternal servitor. When Lord Chaitanya accepted this process, Rāmānanda described the relationship between servitor and master, and he gives some examples there. And I'm not going to speak about it so much because I want to discuss some other issues here. Because we're generally aware of, that this is the Dasya Rasa. This is the Dasya Rasa. So then, encouraged by this, Lord Chaitanya asked him to proceed further. Then he comes into chapter 29, which is pure love for Krishna. Rāmānanda Rāya said that the fraternal relationship with Lord Krishna is still higher in transcendental position. The reason Rāmānanda Rāya said this is because when the relationship with Krishna increases in affection, the mood of fear and the consciousness of superiority of the Supreme Lord diminish. In Dasya Ras, this fear is there, and this feeling of superiority of the Lord is quite prominent. At this point, the mood of faithfulness increases. And this faithfulness is called friendship. In this friendly relationship, there is a sense of equality between Lord Krishna and his friends. So then he moves on to this as the next point. And then Lord Chaitanya appreciated the statements made by Lord Chaitanya about this. And yet, he said, you can go even further. Being so requested, Rāmānanda Rāya then stated that the parental relationship with Krishna is still higher, transcendental position. When the friendly attitude towards Krishna increases in affection, now the affection is becoming deeper. It develops into the relationship found between parents and their son, parents and their children, like that. So the affection becomes deeper here. Lord Chaitanya then Lord Chaitanya quotes some examples. Rāmānanda Rāya quotes some examples. Lord Chaitanya then asks Rāmānanda Rāya to proceed further, so that he can come now to the fifth one here, in order to come to the point of conjugal love. So he really didn't discuss the Shanti Ras, because that he describes as another flavor of these other rasas, as another flavor. But now he's coming to the fourth level. Understanding the mind of Lord Chaitanya, not the fifth, the fourth. Rāmānanda Rāya immediately answered that it was indeed conjugal love with Krishna that constituted the highest relationship. So in this series it is the fourth, but it is actually the fifth in the five rasas that we have with Krishna. In other words, one's intimate relationship with Krishna develops from an ordinary conception of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to the conception of master and servant, and then this becomes confidential. And when this becomes confidential, it develops into a friendly relationship. And when this relationship further develops, it becomes parental. And when this develops to the highest point of complete love and affection, it is known as conjugal love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So one who is situated in his particular relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this is further discussion, is in the best relationship for him. So whatever relationship you're in the best relationship. But when we study these different flavors of transcendental taste in relationship with the Supreme Lord, we can see that the neutral stage of realization, Brahmabhuta, is the first stage. The stage of accepting the Lord as master and oneself as servant is better. And the conception of oneself as the Lord's friend is even more developed. And a parental relationship with the Lord is of still superior quality, and that conjugal love is the supreme relationship with the Lord. So one who does not follow the principles of Pancharatra, or one who is an impersonalist or addicted to sex life, cannot be compared with one who has dedicated their lives to the service of Krishna. So here, the point is being made, when we are doing this, we have to follow the process properly. You can't just do anything you like to come higher and higher in this process. You have to follow Pancharatra Vividi. You have to follow the system laid down by the Acharyas. And if we do that, then we'll come to the highest point. So the author of the Chaitanya Charitamrita has given a nice example concerning these relationships. He points out that earth, water, fire, air, and ether, the five gross elements, develop from subtle forms to grosser forms. For example, sound is found in ether. But in air, there is both sound and touch. In fire, there is sound, touch, and form. In water, there is sound, touch, form, and taste. Finally, in the earth, all five are there: sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Thus, just as the various characteristics increase in the progression from ether to earth, so the five characteristics of devotion increase with each relationship until the five are found in the relationship of conjugal love. Thus, the relationship with Krishna in conjugal love is accepted as the highest perfectional stage of love of God. So in this connection, Lord Krishna says to the gopis in Braja, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 82, Text 44, devotional service to me is the life of every living entity. Now, I'm going to not read the full translation yet. I'm going to speak about the rest, but listen to this statement. devotional service to Krishna is the life of every living entity. Now we would think, but a lot of these living entities are not engaged in Krishna's service, but they're alive. So there Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that everybody is serving him either directly or indirectly, either through the process of Yogamaya or Mahamaya, like that. So this is very important to understand. Why? Because in preaching, it is a golden rule to understand that every living entity is a child of Krishna. We must respect other living entities. We cannot be criticizing other living entities and thinking that we are pleasing Krishna somehow. We're not. Everyone is Krishna's child. Krishna says that. Aham bij pradapitaha. I'm the seed-giving father of all living entities. In another place he says, Suhridam sarva bhutana. Of all living entities, I am the greatest lover, the greatest benefactor, the greatest well-wisher is Krishna. He loves every living entity completely. So whenever we meet any living entity, we should understand this. And we should understand they're alive because they are somehow engaged in some form of service. And that defines the living entity. Service defines the living entity. Devotional service simply means that now that service has become connected to Krishna. So it is always connected to Krishna directly or indirectly, because this is how much Krishna loves us. That even when we try to disconnect, he still keeps a line of connection on through Mahamaya, who herself is a pure devotee of Krishna and an initiated devotee in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. She is a disciple of Haridas Thakur, who is our Namacharya. This tells us the importance of the chanting of the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There is nothing more important than the holy name of Krishna, because the holy name of Krishna is Krishna himself. So here, Lord Krishna continues. Indeed, your love for me is the only cause of achieving my association. See how we have to turn. We have love. We have so much love for so many things. We have love for ice cream. We have love for, pizza. We have love for this, that, and the other. The idea is now, give that love, same love now, to Krishna. Repose it in Krishna. It is that's what the statement that Krishna made. So it is said that Lord Krishna, in his relationship with his devotees, accepts all kinds of devotional service and then reciprocates according to the devotee's attitude. So this attitude is also very important. Your affections, our affinities are very important, but our attitude is very important. And Prabhupada gave that as the most important thing. He said that success in Krishna consciousness, the secret of success in Krishna consciousness is a humble attitude of service. Humble. What does humble mean? Humble means we understand that we are servants. We are not masters. We don't have lording mentality. We have serving mentality. I'm always servant. No matter what my position is, I'm always servant. And I'm the servant of the servant of the servant. Gopir Bhartu Padakamaleo dasa anudasa. Attitude now means that, and the attitude is of service. Service means expressing love. Prabhupada defines this word service as expression of love. So when you're expressing love, that is called service. So we should always be expressing love to Krishna and his people, his creation, in a humble attitude, in a humble state of mind like that. This is why Lord Chaitanya said we should wear this necklace around us which says Trinadapi Sunichena, Tarodapi Seishnana, Amani Namandena, Kirtanaya Sadaharihi. And so Lord Krishna then gives the example of his talk to the gopis, where he says, my dear gopis, your relationship with me is completely transcendental, and it is not possible for me to offer anything in exchange for your love even after many births. You have given up all attachments for material enjoyment, and you have searched after me. Since I am unable to repay your love, kindly be pleased with your own activities. So this is the point that Lord Krishna makes to the gopis, that actually I can repay I cannot repay this service. And so please accept. Please accept that that your own engagement in devotional service is the reward, because it is actually the reward. The reason is, when we engage in devotional service, then with our heart and soul, complete heart and soul, then what happens is Krishna actually becomes pleased. And his pleasure is the only real pleasure. Every other pleasure is a reflection of that pleasure and will be either a true reflection or a perverted reflection like that. So if you want to make it a true reflection, we have to give true pleasure to Krishna. Otherwise, we will try to enjoy ourselves, and we are in some ways having pleasure, but it's a perverted reflection, and therefore that is not going to satisfy the soul. It's not going to satisfy everyone, and therefore it's going to keep us in that cycle of birth and death, samsara chakra. So I'm going to stop around here at this point, because I prefer more question and answers than me speaking, although I've spoken a lot, because there were 3 chapters on this topic. And I really wanted to give a synopsis of the movement in consciousness to the highest level. I think the question and answers will take this deeper and more meaningful. Thank you all so very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for enlightening us on such a wonderful topic. Now, as Prabhu said, we are open to questions and answers. You can either raise your hands or also put your question in the chat, and we can ask them for you. So we'll probably just give it a minute until people are able to ask their questions.
Please don't be shy. There's no such thing as perfect questions, I mean, there are perfect questions, but every question from my point of view is a perfect question. Please don't be shy.
I think we have one question in the chat. We often hear about dovetailing in Krishna consciousness. When it comes to what we do in life, what would that look like, and how can we do this practically in the modern world with schedules of varying intensity taken into account as well?
Very good question. Absolutely a wonderful question. So there is a saying in Hindi, a wonderful saying, Antarnishtha Bahir Lok Vyahar. So basically what it says is that internally, we should be completely fixed in Krishna consciousness. Externally, we should be doing other things. Now, let me give you an example so that you understand this point completely. Once Prabhupada was giving a nice pandal program, and so there were many people, I think there were like 20,000 people listening to the program, or sitting in front of him and listening to his nice discourse on Krishna consciousness. So there was an elderly gentleman, after the program was over, he came up to the stage to meet with Prabhupada. And so then, but he saw that when he came there, Prabhupada was talking about accounts, you should count every rupee properly, make sure that it is written down properly, and then you bank it in the bank like this, and then you write out the requisitions so that you can use the money properly, this, that, and the other. Prabhupada was discovering the mechanics of proper accounting management, financial management like that. So this older man became a little disturbed. So he interjected. He said, Swamiji, why are you talking about this topic? Let others deal with this topic. You talk about Krishna. This is not sadhu's role to worry about money. Sadhu should be more interested in Krishna consciousness and, totally absorbed in Krishna consciousness like that. So Prabhupada said to him, okay, sir, come, you sit behind me, and you put your ear to my back, and then you wait, and then we'll talk later. So this gentleman, respectful of sadhu, so he went behind Prabhupada and he put his ear to Prabhupada's, imagine this is Prabhupada's back, and put his ear to the back like this. And after a few minutes, he was like shocked. And he came in front of Prabhupada and he paid his full obeisances to Prabhupada. He said, please forgive me, sadhu, please forgive me. I'm such a sinner. I'm a bad person. And he ran away. So then, after a while, the devotees were thinking, what happened? Why this man did this? So then they caught up with this man, and they asked him, what happened? What happened? How you became so shocked like this, So Prabhupada, he said, when I put my ear to his back, all I could hear is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, wow. This man is talking financial subject matter, accounts to his followers, but inside he's only chanting Hare Krishna. This is Antarnishta, Bahir Lok Vihar. Externally, we have to deal with this world. There is no, you cannot avoid that. If you're in the ocean, you're going to have to deal with the water. You cannot ignore the water and say, I don't care about the water. You will drown. But internally, you are completely fixed on Krishna. Internal fortitude in Krishna. You're always connected, always thinking to yourself, I am with Krishna. Prabhupada gives a very, very nice definition of Krishna consciousness. These are his exact words, word for word. The meaning of Krishna consciousness is that one always lives with Krishna on that spiritual planet, Golok Vrindavan. And one is simply waiting to give up this material body. So are we thinking like that? No matter what we're doing, while I'm talking to you, am I thinking I'm with Krishna? And I'm chanting Hare Krishna. And I'm always glorifying Krishna. And I'm always showing love to Krishna. But externally, I'm talking about Krishna consciousness. Externally, I'm talking about this. Externally, I'm brushing my teeth. Externally, I'm taking a shower. Externally, I'm going to work. Externally, I'm dealing with the boss. Externally, I'm dealing with my family members. Externally, I'm dealing with a dog on the street who's barking at me. Externally, this is happening, that is happening. But I'm always understanding I'm with Krishna. I'm dealing with Krishna. And I'm dealing with those things too. Because when you do that, you'll be amazed how nicely your other things will happen nicely also outside. We can see Prabhupada's activities outside were so nice, right? It's perfect. So this is the way to dovetail. Dovetailing doesn't mean I take something material and somehow just use it in Krishna's service as much as I can. That is not dovetailing. That's crowtailing. Dovetailing means I make this completely Krishna conscious. Before I can make this completely Krishna, I better be completely Krishna conscious too, right? So internally I can be complete. Externally I'm not. Internally I am. Then externally will also come around. Then when both of them match, then everything is first class. Then you're a pure devotee of Krishna. Until then, we're trying to become devotees. Actually, we're even trying to become servants before we try to become devotees. Like that. I hope that makes some sense. It satisfies you. Does she want to give any response to that? Generally, people on these things come on with their own videos and then respond, but apparently I don't see that happening.
People are a little shy here.
Okay. Right. I'm hoping she accepts that and we'll move on.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that was a she also. It does say SRD, so I'm expecting it's a lady.
So
okay.
We have Krishna Sharanam Prabhu who has a question. So please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you for the beautiful lecture. Of information. Prabhu, as you said, the highest state of devotional service is in the relation of conjugal relationship with the gopis and Krishna. But how many people can get to that state? As far as I am concerned, I cannot think of above servitude, relationship in the servitude. So is there any hope for me to get Krishna devotion? Thank you, Prabhu.
Very good. Very nice question. Excellent question. So basically, this is also discussed in these 3 chapters. I didn't talk about it, but you brought it out. So I think I should say something about it. And that is that any relationship you have with Krishna is first class. It's not like conjugal relationship is first class, the next one is second class, third class, fourth class, fifth class. No, not like that. Every relationship you have with Krishna, where you are, like in your case, servitude, you're thinking servitude. If that's what pleases you, that's perfect. It's complete. There's nothing more required there, because when you go to we all go to our next place of training, there will be perfected in our training. And then after perfected training, then we go to Golok Vrindavan. Those who are in servitude with Krishna, those who are acting as servants of Krishna, also have very deep love for Krishna. Very deep love for Krishna. So it's not like that is missing. Basically, the idea was that in the conjugal love, just like in the case of earth, it has all the 5 elements, right? The sense of taste, smell, like that, right? All 5. So similarly, what is being said is that in conjugal love, all five flavors are there in complete form. You see what I'm saying? That's all. And so if you want to have all five flavors, then that is conjugal love. And 4 flavors, then that's actually parental. 3 flavors is actually friendly. 2 flavors is servant, like that. You see, so like that. So how many flavors you want to have, you can have. Just like when you go and have a feast, right? You can have whatever number of flavors you want. Don't have everything in the feast. You can make your choices and eat. Prabhupada said the best way to eat food is to eat what you like and how you like it. From the Krishna conscious presentation in front of you. You see what I'm saying? So in that sense, you don't have anything to be concerned about, Prabhuji. You are perfect. You just simply perfect your love for Krishna as a servant. Love him completely with all of your heart and soul. And then if that happens, then when that happens, then we will transfer to that planetary system where Krishna is performing his pastime in the material world, or hopefully where Gauranga Mahaprabhu is performing his pastimes in the material world. And there we'll get our perfect training. And from that perfect training, we'll go to Golok Vrindavan, where even a particle of dust is so powerful that it can become a gopi when it wants to. It's going to be hard to understand this point of view. Anyway, that's Golok Vrindavan. Golok Vrindavan is just an unusual place. So let's not, it's just too mind-boggling to talk about. The mind can never wrap itself around that issue. Nothing can. Just to understand that even to become a particle of dust in Golok Vrindavan is completely glorious. What to speak of becoming servant of Krishna. So thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hopefully that satisfies you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All right. So
another question in the chat. How can we develop these different types of relationships with the Supreme Lord, and is it suggested that we do so, or should we maintain the relationship of a servant and a master with him?
Very, very nice question. Excellent question, Kartik Prabhu. So basically, the relationships come naturally to you, because remember we talked about affinity. You also have affinities. You like to do certain things in certain ways. Those affinities were given to you by Krishna himself. I'm talking about your real affinities, not your temporary material affinities. So basically, when we were manifested, by Krishna, then there's certain engineering that happened in us. So we have some like spiritual DNA like that, some transcendental DNA. So basically, it's natural. You'll feel yourself inclined towards something. And how to do that is by chanting nicely. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So when we follow the process, which is Hare Nam, Hare Eve Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva, Gatirinatha, Om Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Iti Shodash Nam, Kalikama Shunashanam, Nata Uparata Rapaya, means there is no higher process than this. Sarva Vedeshu Dishyate. We must chant the holy names of Krishna. Then what will happen, as described by the Acharyas, avoiding the 10 offenses like that, then moving our chanting from offensive to the clearing phase, Namabhas, and then to Shuddhnam, like that, then everything will fall into place automatically. And the next thing is, Prabhupada said, that will give you 90% of your success. And he said the other thing that will also give you 90% of your success is association of devotees who are following this process sincerely. So, because these devotees are servants of the holy name. So the holy name and the servant will actually allow you to have this process so very nicely. So this is why the Hare Krishna movement was started by Lord Chaitanya. And this is why Prabhupada started ISKCON for the same purpose. So one wonderful question. This is the central question. How do we do this? This is the way to do it.
Thank you, Prabhu. Does it satisfy your question? If anyone has any other question, we can take it. Or else.
If any of you feel that it wasn't satisfactory what I said and you want to ask again anything to develop it, you're welcome to do that. Please feel free.
Prabhu, since we are on the subject, I'll just ask a quick question.
Sure.
So you were mentioning that in general, when we start off, or this is something I have heard. I can't exactly pinpoint or quote exactly where I heard it from, but I have heard that since we are in this conditioned stage, currently we have to take that mode of servitorship, and then in due time, when we actually become self-realized, then our true constitutional position is revealed, and what relationship we actually have is revealed at that time, and that is not something we should worry about right now. Is that true as well, Prabhu?
That is also true. The idea is we should consider ourselves servant of the servants. So servitorship doesn't mean really become servant of Krishna. It means servant of the servants. So servant of the spiritual master, servant of the devotees. We become servants like that. That's why we call everybody Prabhu like that, Mataji, high position, give everybody high position like that. So when we do this, then what will happen is we understand that our constitutional position is to serve. The service is expression of love of God, you see what I'm saying? And so when we do more love of God, then more love of God will come, right? Since service is an expression of love, then the more you love, the more love will happen, right? And the love will go deeper and deeper and deeper, automatically. So Lord Chaitanya says, you follow this process, I will deliver everything. He will give everything to us, you see. But we should not artificially think that this is the best thing, because it may not be what pleases Krishna the most. If Krishna thinks that me becoming a particle of dust is going to please him the most, then that's what I want to become, a particle of dust. Even though everybody else will say, wow, particle of dust is useless. But for me, it will be everything. Why? Because it will please Krishna. And that for me is everything. You see what I'm saying? So really, we don't want to get into so much the mental gymnastics, the knowledge gymnastics of this issue. You're not doing that. I'm not saying that you're doing that. I'm saying we all can do that very easily. We can get into this gymnastics. We don't need to get into those gymnastics. The process works. You have to just follow. And follow it with a lot of happiness. Understanding this will succeed because it's Krishna's promise. Name bhakta pranashyati. Krishna guarantees it. Lord Gauranga guarantees it. So there's nothing to worry about. Keep following the process. Be nice to devotees. Serve devotees nicely. Never offend devotees. Don't think bad about other people. Don't offend other living entities. Just be humble. Understand you have to tolerate at times. Things are going to go wrong in our lives. Be tolerant. Don't look for people to prosecute every time something goes wrong in your life. You see what I'm saying? Like that. So if you keep this attitude that I have won the greatest lottery. All I have to get is to 26th Avenue, and I can pick up my $5 trillion earnings, then you're not going to worry about, the taxi cab driver made a left turn, he should have gone straight. You know what I'm saying? Or his engine broke down. His engine broke down, just get another cab and take on. Keep going. Get your flight, go to New York, and pick up your trillions of dollars. You see what I'm saying? So for us, we are guaranteed full Krishna consciousness. We just have to follow the process. Be very, very enthusiastic and very, very happy in the process. That's why Prabhupada would say, if you're not happy, means you're not devotee. And you will not be happy unless you've understood what you just got, what you are just about to get. You have not understood it. You see what I'm saying? You are minimizing Krishna. You're minimizing the value of Krishna consciousness and thinking it is less value than what really it is. It is. Therefore, you are becoming affected by other things and becoming unhappy. But if you know, it's just a matter of moments. Time will fly past, right? How many of us are 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70? Time has flown past, right? How much more years to go? Some 5 years, some 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. It's going to go like that, gone. We want to be now with Krishna in the planet where he's performing his pastime. We want to be Gauranga Mahaprabhu in the planet he's performing his pastime. Get fully trained up nicely, chant, feast, and dance there 24/7. Then go back home, back to Godhead. Golok Vrindavan. Even if we get to the planet where Krishna is performing and Lord Chaitanya is performing, you're already in Golok Vrindavan. And we're just one step away. This step, next step is that step, if we follow the process. But our problem is our mind is too smart. It finds this reason, that reason to go, Can't go straight, right? Have to take some about turns and go back and go front and go back and do this crazy mental gymnastics. Don't do that. No need. No matter how bad it gets in this world, the devotee is always successful. That is Krishna's promise. And only Krishna can promise that. Nobody else can. That is Gauranga Mahaprabhu's promise. So be nice to one another. We are the same family. By the way, all of us are going to be in the same place in the Guru of Vrindavan. That's why we're sitting together and talking today. So we're all supposed to be friends. Let's be nice to one another. No? Let's honor each other and appreciate. Oh, I came to find all my long lost friends. For so many billions of lives, I've lost all of you. Finally find you again. Just like a parent finds a kidnapped child, how happy the parent will become, right? How happy the child will become. They embrace one another. And that's just after a few years. But we're finding each other after billions of lifetimes. How much happier we should be with one another. Like that. Does that make sense, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you so much.
Very nice. So I don't see, or there's someone.
How to have enthusiasm always in our activities.
Yeah. I
think one of the best ways to know that you won your multi-trillion-dollar lottery. I think right now, if I told you you won a $1 trillion lottery, I think you're probably going to have a big smile on your face immediately. You're going to be very enthusiastic about going to 26 Second Avenue and picking up that $1 trillion. So how to be enthusiastic is to understand that Krishna is everything. Sarva karana karana. If you have Krishna, you have everything. So Krishna wants to give himself to us. So now just be very enthusiastic to move forward. Stay in the association of devotees who are very enthusiastic and chant Hare Krishna enthusiastically. Serve enthusiastically, But most importantly, stay in the association of enthusiastic devotees, because you will feel very enthusiastic in the association of enthusiastic devotees like that. Stay away from devotees who are not very enthusiastic, Help them out, but don't get too close to them that you will lose your enthusiasm too. And chant enthusiastically. Again, I can't overemphasize. Chant enthusiastically. Just understand when you're chanting, you're with Krishna. Yeah, it's so nice. I always want to be with Krishna. Like
that. Thank you.
So, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Very nice class. I have a question. If time permits, can I ask a question?
Yes.
So, Prabhuji, you talked about enthusiasm and being in the association of the enthusiastic devotee to maintain our enthusiasm. But then we have seen many cases where devotees don't have association. Then in such a case, how do they maintain enthusiasm?
Wonderful. Very, very good question. This is one of the best questions I've ever heard in my life. The way to keep that enthusiasm is to understand that the Srimad Bhagavatam is full of devotees who are talking to us all the time. You know what I'm saying? So when you're reading the Bhagavatam, can you think that when it says Uddhava was with Krishna and you were sitting next to Uddhava and you're listening to Uddhava talking to Krishna and you think, I'm going to jump between Uddhava and Krishna and hug Krishna, I'm going to kiss him, I'm going to tell him how much I love him, and you're like in that mood while you're listening to Uddhava telling something to Krishna, you're going to be in total enthusiasm, right?
Yeah.
Because you are right there with Krishna and Uddhava is also there. The gopis are there, the friends are there, this person there, the enemy is there. Krishna is going to fight with some demon and you are there. And you're going to also hold a stick and hit the demon on the head too. While Krishna is whacking, you're also going to give a nice stick to him, rascal. I'm killing you too. You know what I mean? And tell Krishna, don't worry about Krishna. I'll kill him. You leave him alone. I can kill him. You know what I mean? Get into that enthusiastic role. Internally, always be with Krishna. Externally, we are dealing with people. This world is not an enthusiastic place. If you look for things in the material world, enthusiasm, you're going to be very disappointed. Don't look for enthusiasm outside. Look for enthusiasm inside of the Krishna Leela. So that's Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, all of Prabhupada's writings. So many devotees who are, in Krishna Leela, like the gopas, the cows, the cowherds, whoever, the trees, the bhakti vrikshas, all these are very enthusiastic people, they're all totally enthusiastic. So just stick with them and feel the enthusiasm. And when you see a tree, just think, wow, this is Kalpa Vriksha from my life in the previous life. And both of us did some mistake, we came here. Go and hug the tree and say, let's go back to the spiritual world. I want to be back with you in the spiritual world. That's enthusiasm, right? then the tree will become enthusiastic. You gave it love. Nobody hugged the tree. You hugged the tree. Heck, that tree is going to love you to heck, right? And it's going to bless you so much for giving it some love. Nobody else gave it any love. Everybody else was kicking it, cutting the branch off, chopping it down, eating its fruit, showing no respect.
Yeah.
So you can do that, right? I can
Very
do that.
nice.
We can all do that. Yeah. Total enthusiasm.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Very, very nice explanation.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Very wonderful.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, Prabhuji, you have other things in your program also to move on with, so I don't want to feel that,
No, I think we were pretty much on time as well. So, but thank you so much, Prabhu. I want to also convey regards of Vedsar Prabhu, who couldn't be here. He was caught up with something. But we thank you so much for taking time out and enlightening us on this important topic.
Please offer my respects to him as well. I love him very much. So, we're very good friends, very close to one another. So,
thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you so very much. Thank you all very much for coming to this program. Vanchakalpa Turvescha, Kripasindhu Vyevacha, Vaishnavadhya Namo Namah, Shri Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai, Atlanta Yatra ki Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, next up, before I go on to next week's program and Gaur Purnima, we have some festivals this week. We have Amalaki Ekadashi, which is on the 24th. Fast breaking on the next day is from 7:34 a.m. to 11:40 a.m. And it's also the disappearance day of Sri Madhavendra Puri on that day. After that, obviously, we have one of the biggest festivals for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, which is Gaura Purnima, or the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whose instructions we've been discussing over the past 2.5-3 months now in the form of the teachings of Lord Chaitanya written by Srila Prabhupada. So we have the last session of this teachings of Lord Chaitanya series, where we will be covering chapters 30 to 32, and that will be discussed by His Grace Amarendra Prabhu, who we are having for that session. So please do not miss that session. And speaking of Gaur Purnima, we have many interesting events on the day of Gaur Purnima, and we would like that all of you participate in this event. So a short schedule for the program on Sunday. We start at 3 p.m. We have a 6-hour program. We thought it would be nice to involve the yatra and have lots of kirtan reading, and we'll also have different things which I'll be discussing right now. So we have the kirtans and reading sessions starting from 3 p.m. We'll have kirtan and readings alternately, so that we are not only just hearing and absorbing kirtan, but we are also trying to understand what are Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions and also read about him in these reading sessions. At 5 p.m. we will have Abhishekam, which will be streamed straight from the temple, and which will go on for around half an hour or 45 minutes, after which we'll also have a bhajan, which will also be explained. We might have a special guest, so stay tuned, we might have a surprise. And also at 6:30 we'll have the Aarti, which will also be streamed from the temple. And at 7 p.m. we'll have the conclusion of the Teachings of Lord Chaitanya series, where Amarendra Prabhu will be speaking. That will go on for an hour 15 minutes, and then we'll have question answers as well, and that will close out at 8:30 p.m. And then we have a very interesting thing for everyone to be involved. And as I said, we have announcement, Narasimha prayers, and Kirtan. But in that particular section of the program, how can you participate? We encourage everyone to decorate their altars really nicely, have a camera set up on the Zoom call, and it should face your altar. It can be close up as well. And just stay on the call, and after Amarendra Prabhu's class, we will be spotlighting different devotees' houses and your altars, and everyone in our yatra can have that opportunity to both show your altar and also see how everyone else has decorated their altars. And as Prabhu mentioned, enthusiasm. This will enthuse us even more on this path of Krishna consciousness, to see how we are able to do service and how others are doing service as well. So this is a very nice opportunity. You can all register yourselves with us on WhatsApp through this number. I will be sending these instructions out on the WhatsApp groups so that you guys, you all can get in touch with us and register yourselves so that we are able to see how you have decorated your altars on the Gaur Purnima day, and we can get the darshan of your altar as well. Once again, be sure to follow us on all our social media platforms and also check out our website. We have this wonderful Linktree page where you just can use one click and get to any of our media pages. It's very easy for you to access our pages that way. Prayers. Coming to the prayers, we have some important prayers to make today. There was a very recent update of His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj's health. He was tested positive for typhoid, luckily tested negative for COVID, but he definitely needs prayers. His health is not so good right now. Also, Her Grace Govardhanila Mataji has also not been keeping very well, so we request prayers for her health as well. Also, the different devotees at the temple who were tested positive for COVID, but I think most of them have recovered, but we continue to ask prayers for them as well. All the different doctors who are fighting COVID on the front lines, and also many others who we are not able to mention. So let's chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra 3 times, after which we will have the Narsimha prayers for all of them. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So moving on, we will be having Sachiprana Prabhu's son Haridas, who will be singing the Narsimha prayers today. Haridas, are you ready?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, just give me a second. I will just start sharing. Hare, carry on.
Namaste Narasingaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
जय हो श्री प्रभुपाद की जय हो श्री गुरुदेव की जय अमित गौरचंद्र की जय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल
Hare Krishna, Haridas, thank you very much for the very nice Narsimha prayers. And let's all pray together for all the devotees. And also, we look forward to seeing all of you at our Gaur Purnima program next week, starting at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yes, Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much.
Hare Krishna.